Look what I subconsciously did here. I gave you devil
Yeah, you
horns
gave
and
me
an
a
angel
devil horn
halo.
and a halo.
Yep, look at that.
Look at that.
Hi, I'm Lily Gladstone,
And I'm Leonardo DiCaprio.
and this is Notes on a Scene.
Killers of the Flower Moon.
You live in this house just with your mother?
I take care for her. And you live with your uncle?
Yes. You know him?
Since I can remember.
He's a nice man.
I remember this was one of our first scenes that we did. And it was obviously the initial flirtation process and getting to know one another, but we didn't know the context of how much Hale had planned this or how much
Right.
it was an organic meeting between the two characters.
Ernest is a little bit in the hot seat, getting the 20 questions.
You see in Molly's eyes, I think, that she knows what she's dealing with to a certain extent, but, you know, he seems somewhat easygoing. I know there's certain elements to him that aren't perfect, but
What
he's...
man is?
Point taken.
I remember how much Jackie talked about your costume through here. See, like the little kind of rough edges. Clearly, this is your only coat. It's worn right there. Your center part.
I remember we talked about the center part, the side part, where he becomes more of a dandy.
Right.
He accumulates himself into the household. He wants to look upper class.
And then brilliant Sean still giving you your little cabbie-like hair. Here, I give you devil
Yeah, you
horns
gave
and
me
an
a
angel
devil horn
halo.
and a halo.
Yep, look at that.
Look at that.
Jack Fisk and the whole art department, including Addie Roanhorse, a local. A lot of the things that you see belong to Osage families and come from this era. These red spode dishes come from the Red Corn family. Every year when they host people at their camp and feed people during their dances in the summer, they would use this set. But this summer they had rented plates. So now these dishes, this very cup that Leo's drinking out of, is back in circulation with the red corns and is feeding people every summer.
I forgot that. Man, you
Yeah.
have a good memory.
Why did you come here?
For what?
To live here?
Yes, I live here.
Why?
I love that when this scene was written out, it was, I think, originally accommodating for the language barrier, and then we decided Molly was way more fluent in English. You know, we're so used to seeing Indians in film speaking in broken English and not really following fully, but here it's like Ernest is the one who's kind of not tracking.
He's not the sharpest tool in the shed. Very early on in the production, actually, I was considering making him even slower because he couldn't really put a sentence together. He really couldn't. He was, in the testimony, in his writing, I was like, wow, either this man's illiterate or there's something missing there. But the more we investigated all of this, yes, of course, he was intricately a part of this manipulation process. But at this point, we're keeping it, you know, a little bit of a gray area, I'd say.
Why?
For my uncle. I work with him.
Your brother is Brian?
Byron, that's right.
Byron.
There is no one way that this man's name is recorded in history. The community remembers him as both Brian and Byron, and I forget which is which. When they speak about him, they say one way, but it's written on his headstone the other way, which was pretty common back then.
You scared of him?
My brother? Who?
Your uncle.
Well, no. No, he's the king of the Osage Hills. He's the nicest man in the world. I know if you cross him, what he could do. No, I'm my own man. I do my own work.
Bullshit.
I do my own work. He does no work. Is it just the fact that he's a little bit slow and dim, that doesn't know anything about his uncle, or the fact that he talks about the fact that he's a businessman when he really has no business and is barely a cab driver at that point?
Right.
But he's putting on a show. He's peacocking for her. He's
My God.
making himself out to be something that he's not.
I'm a businessman. Thanks. There you go.
there's only 2 real scenes where I smoke a cigarette, and there are these bookmarked scenes where, we're initially starting to flirt. We share tobacco, and it's like, oh yeah, I smoke. We're going to share everything. Yes, we have a lot in common. And at the end, where I sort of have to go back on my word in the trial, and I'm completely manipulating and lying to her, saying that no, I was beaten by the FBI. None of this stuff is true about my
Lying again.
I was lying again, and we start to share tobacco.
Molly is wearing 2 Wabanka pins, which means that she's been married. Unwed Osage women wear 3. So when he asks,
How come you don't have a husband? I'm a man. I want to know why a woman like you doesn't have a husband.
Molly's response is lightly touching her pins and straightening her shirt to
right.
see if he knows that or not.
And
but
of
she's not going to
course,
disclose it.
he's massively ignorant to all of this.
That was part of the research when we were talking with community to figure out what this dynamic would have been, because there's nobody living that knew these 2. We found a lot of what their dynamic in the marriage may have been in the legacy that we heard about their kids. Both their children, Cowboy and Lizzie, the ones who survived, were known in the community for loving to have parties, loving to host people. So we wanted to create that dynamic, like what would really be the attraction and flirtation here. And it's also just kind of fun watching, as Molly, watching Ernest sweat a little bit.
We put a lot of thought into how Machiavellian this relationship was as far as Ernest's manipulation, or if it did start from a somewhat pure place. From the research that we did, there was a connection between these 2. And that's the thing that I think we both tried to display in this scene, that there was this connection. We started to watch a lot of these Montgomery Clift films. Certainly the most influential was A Place in the Sun, and that film really shaped the relationship, along with The Heiress with Olivia de Havilland, which was really the model for the Ernest and Molly relationship, especially towards the end, where she starts to truly understand deeply who this person is, and she makes that switch.
You got nice color skin. What color would you say that is?
My color.
And that is everything.
Thank you.
I'm right. Oh, no. 4 Killers of the Flower Moon.
Good job, Ernest.
That's Ernest writing.
Wait, let me.
Okay, look.
Let me
Take a picture of that. That's actually
I'm
beautiful.
not gonna give there. I want to at least have my eyes open. There.
Take that photo. That's cool. This is our writing. This is Molly's work. And this is for Killers
That's
of the Flower Moon by Ernest, because that's what his writing looked like in real life. Can I get my phone? We went back into character on this.